So yeah, good to chat to Toby, a stalwart of Melbourne Fab and Grand J Games, here most Fridays.
And a complete degenerate.
Complete degenerate, loves cracking a pack. Could have given him a pack actually to crack on stream, but yeah. Maybe he can make top 8.
He's also a pocket pack enthusiast. I want to talk a little bit about the pocket pack and the prize that you got me. Now, I thought that prize pack, that troll prize pack, was from Jay, from Grand J Games, because he handed it to me. But that wasn't the truth.
No, I set that one up for 20 rounds. I made that prize pack sort of like mid last week. And then I must have been the week before, because I fed Isaac's cat last weekend when he went to Adelaide, was it? No, Hobart.
Tasmania.
Yeah, Tasmania. So I fed Isaac's cat, and I had made these packs the week before that. But when I went to Isaac's house, I forgot to take the pack, because I was going to leave it on his desk or like in his study somewhere, so that he would happen upon it and then be like, oh, I have a spare pack that I forgot to open at some point, and then it's just prize. But that didn't happen. So I was a bit annoyed with myself. So then I was like, when's another time that I can get Isaac? And if Isaac just came out to my house and I was like, hey, crack this pack, he would know 100% what was going on. So I was like, I have to rope someone else in.
Now, we were cracking packs a couple of weeks ago in Adelaide.
Yep.
And you handed me a stack of 12 packs.
I did.
Right? You're just like, oh yeah, I'm cracking this box. Like, I'll crack half, you crack half. Right?
Yep.
Like, here you go, here's 12 packs. And I picked up those 12 packs and I was like, this one looks a little bit dodgy. I'm not opening this one. It might be a prize pack.
I was pretty annoyed about that. So it was a prize pack. So I didn't get Isaac with that one.
You've been trying to get me with the prize pack for some time.
I have.
And you finally got me, which, hats off to you.
That was good.
It was really well done,
So thanks, Jay, for helping out with that. And speaking of Jay, so Grand J Games, store in Essendon, it's a great store.
Yeah, I wanted to just talk a little bit about my introduction to Fab and just kind of walking into this really cool environment that Jay creates in terms of really being community focused. And I think that's what I'm all about, that's what you're all about, and I think that's what really makes Flesh and Blood and card games in general just like the best.
Yeah.
So going into Grand J Games in Essendon, like it would normally close at like 9:30. And Jay was just basically like, you know what? I'm going to keep the shop open. I'm going to play games with you guys until like 11:30, midnight. So I've done that a couple of times. Jay's just all about, like people having fun, having a good time, and creating that community. So really keen to get out the maximum shout-outs for Jay, because I just think he does a really good job.
Absolutely. And so like in terms of the staying open afterwards, like, we've developed a few fun side games for cracking packs, which Jay enjoys participating in and supporting. So that's good fun. And it's just really nice to come into a store where, the community's first. There's always good prizes for events, and Jay's just really positive and supportive. It's a really nice environment, and something that I've started doing as well, which I think is really important, and partly because of the consistent environment that Jay creates, where we get very similar players coming every week. Like, people come 4 times out of 4 in a month, like, a lot of the time, which is awesome. So you really get to know people and get to enjoy the community. And I decided that whenever I do well in a larger tournament and get any like significant prizes, I'm just gonna buy a box and give it to the community at the store. So that's something that I've done. I did after Nats and after the
It's good to hang out with Jesse.
ProQuest. Yeah, exactly.
It's good to hang out
I just think like with these kind of games, and like Fab's a good example where like we all play together, we all help each other, we get to know each other. The fun is not just like winning the game, it's having a community to play with. Like if you don't have that, you don't have anything.
Yeah.
And so some people just come along to armories and don't play in bigger events. Some people come along to an armory once in a while, but like they're really valued members of the community and we wouldn't have a game without them. Some people never come to tournaments, so it's their first tournament. And so, I think if we do well in tournaments, or if I do well in tournaments, my philosophy is that like I want to give something of that back to the community. So that's just been really fun. And Jay, last time we did that, Jay chipped in heaps of packs from the store as well and just supported that and made it a really fun environment.
Last time like one of the new players walked away with like a stalagmite?
A stalagmite, which was like, it was I think his first armory at the store, and like, he got this stalagmite for a free pack, and I was like, awesome.
It's like a $200 card or something.
Yeah.
So like pretty cool to like come along and it's cracking packs, you might just get the lucky one, and that's what one of the new players did. So if you're thinking about getting a Flesh and Blood, I would highly recommend coming into Grand J Games playing some games, particularly when Jesse's around. Like, the EV goes up a little bit, so... Like,
but it's good fun. It's good fun. So we should talk a little bit about our next match, because we're actually going straight into round 5. So we've got Patrick Watt, who we've already featured on Rhinar, against Kuan Lee. So Kuan is a top 8 player from Nationals as well. Really well known player.
Let's get the profile up, because we've got a profile of Kuan.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty impressive profile here. So 9th place in lifetime rankings, 8th place in 90-day rankings. And
ProQuest winner from this season already.
So
and runner-up. Won a ProQuest, runner-up another one, and 8th and 9th in 90-day and lifetime XP, respectively.
And top 8 at Nationals as well?
Yep.
So, just an all-round incredibly good player.
Mm-hmm.
Also, another nice person.
Very delightfully nice person to spend time with. And it'd be great to hopefully travel to New Jersey with Kuan as part of the Australian contingent.
Yep.
Another strong player who can fly the flag. Has been playing since 2019. Favourite card, Crippling Crush.
Crippling Crush?
It's a great card. And favourite hero, Bravo Showstopper. We should segue into the game if they're ready to go. And because Kuan is going to be playing not Bravo Showstopper, but Bravo Star of the Show.
Yeah, so favourite hero is OG Bravo, but keen to be playing the new and somewhat improved.
Well, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Improved in terms of versatility.
Versatility and win percentage.
Yep.
Yeah. So Showstopper coming down for Kuan.
Star of the Show.
Sorry, yep, Star of the Show. I told you you're going to have to do that multiple times today. And then down the bottom, we've got...
Patrick on Rhinar.
Patrick on Rhinar, yeah.
So Patrick piloting Rhinar to 4-0, which is pretty much a lock for top 8 at this point. We don't want to go, talking too much about tournament rankings where we can't be certain of things, but when you're one of 2 players sitting 4-0, it's a decent shot. After 2 more rounds, you're going to be in the top 8.
Yeah. Now... Rhinar coming in, we had a bit of a chat with Patrick earlier about Rhinar as a card, being pretty happy into a Prism meta, but I asked Patrick, how about the Big Baddie? How about Starvo? What do you think about the matchup? And Patrick said that the key to it is these pummels. So he's got 3 blue pummels, 3 yellow pummels in his deck. And he's really hoping to get those off and disrupt the Starvo player to make them discard cards. That's hopefully going to take them off either the trifecta or take them off being able to do their big crippling crush or Oakenhold turns. Basically trying to hamper the cards in hand, which I think is a really good strategy against Bravo. But Bravo also has the ability to block a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how that actually turns out.
Which doesn't always work against Intimidate.
Yep, Intimidate being big. Yep.
But, I mean, the other thing is the disruptive potential of... I don't know whether Kuan's going to be playing Stalagmite. But a Stalagmite on one of those Blood Rush Bellow turns to make the second Mandible Claw cost an extra resource can be relevant.
Can be quite crippling. Or crushing.
And speaking of that, as you mentioned, the Oakenhold and the Crippling Crush stripping cards from Rhinar, that's Rhinar's biggest weakness.
Yep.
Not being able to go into the turn with a 4 or 5 card hand can really just completely neuter Rhinar's ability to sometimes do anything. Because some of Rhinar's attacks, you got to remember, cost resources and the card itself, and you have to discard a card as a cost.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 3 cards you need. So if you're getting Crippling Crushed and Oakenholded, it can be a big deal. So we're seeing just Entangle turn 1 from Kuan, filtering Kuan's own hand, and getting an Arsenal down. So Kuan is a very, very quick player. So we're going to have to be really spot on to make sure we can notice what's going on.
Yeah.
So we're going to Intimidate from Barraging Beatdown. I think I saw it exposed to the elements. I could be wrong, though, in Kuan's hand. So Intimidating 1 card away. Maybe it's an Icy Encounter. Blood Rush Bellow straight away. Turn 1 Blood Rush Bellow. So it's a Heaven's Claws, an Icy Encounter, and I think Kuan does have an Earth card. So this could be a Starvo activation we're looking at, but we're seeing a Blood Rush Bellow, which, I mean, if you're in Kuan's position, very, very similar to what Toby was just saying there after that last round. Yes, they're presenting a lot. You know, if you analogize Blood Rush Bellow with High Octane for Daniel last game, but it's just damage.
Vanilla damage, so it doesn't disrupt the hand on Kuan's turn. So it disrupts the hand on Patrick's turn.
Yep,
which
Kuan
prevents
gets the
blocking.
cards back.
But a lot of the time Kuan just doesn't want to block anyway.
Yep.
So the key difference is that when Kuan has control of the game, his hit triggers are also getting rid of cards in hand from Patrick. So,
which, as we discussed, is a massive hindrance for Rhinar.
Yeah. But we just see a block out, right? Because it must be that...
Kuan didn't have the Starvo activation, so we've got Crown online.
Yep.
We've got a Crippling Crush, and it looks like an Ice Quake or something for a block. So I think that's fully blocked out, and the Crown's floating. So we've blocked the Mandible Claw for 5, Crown floating. So Kuan might be thinking here, look, I just want to preserve my life total on these Blood Rush Bellow turns, because there's only 3 Blood Rush Bellows in the deck. I'm pretty sure I can outgun you on every other turn, so there's no reason to race against the Blood Rush Bellow if I don't need to.
And probably looking at that Crippling Crush in hand, those 2 cards that have been intimidated away for this turn, probably not blues. Probably doesn't
One
have
of
the
them,
ability to play
I
the Crippling
think,
Crush.
is a Heaven's Claws blue, but even if he did, I just think there's an argument to be made for I want to keep my life total high on the Blood Rush Bellow turns when you're presenting the most, so that I can threaten you more on turns when you're presenting less.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we see here a Icy Hammer coming in, so 4 damage. If it hits, then create a Frostbite token, which can really disrupt Rhinar.
It can. And Kuan's obviously gone here as well. Look, a 2-card hand is great if one of them's an Ice Blue, because I get to threaten a Frostbite and I still get my Arsenal. That's awesome for a 2-card hand.
And we see Kuan opting to use not the Stoic Might, but instead the Rampart of the Ram's Head, which basically blocks, and then every time you block it triggers, and you can pay 1 and it gets +1 defense. So it doesn't get any neg 1 counters, so it sticks around but costs a resource every time you want to use it.
And if Kuan's going, look, I'm going to be crowning most turns in the game, and Rhinar's going to be coming at me with some vanilla damage most turns in the game, then maybe the Rampart of the Ram's Head's giving you more value.
Yep, I can see that. And just go opting for a block that can just block throughout the game. And so Kuan just wanting the game to go a lot longer in order to get more resources, more value out of that Ram's Head. And then he can pivot to being the aggressor once he has the Oakenhold turns or the Crippling Crush turns. So those really good 4-card hands that he wants to keep, and just wanting to stay on high life total until those come up.
Because all that it costs Kuan to make sure that he can hold those cards in his hand on those big turns is some life. So if he's got plenty of life to pay, then he's in a great spot.
Great spot, yeah.
So the Autumn's Touch comes in, chips in for a bit of damage. I think did that Savage Feast block as well? Was there a bit of a block from Patrick? I think so. So he's got a card, a bit of chip damage in, and now we've got the Swing Big, which if Kuan just blocks out for 9, he gets a Quicken token. Yeah, maybe that's not super relevant, but it's still something. But instead he's blocking 3, taking 6.
We see the pummel, which
so
is
this is the way that Kuan's hand can be disrupted.
Yeah, so Patrick talking about the pummel being the big aspect of this
of the Starvo matchup.
Yeah,
because now Kuan's turn is a lot worse. Because it looks like Kuan's kept the 3 elements, hoping to fuse, and then that could be a big attack in Arsenal.
Yep.
But instead, Kuan taking 3, discarding a blink.
Going to 29 and just coming in. So it would have been a 9 dominate go again, plus a 4 from the hammer. Instead, just 7. So really big difference. 7 versus 13.
Huge
plus
difference.
Disruption.
Now Patrick didn't get an Arsenal because of that. He's blocking 3, taking 4. So look, I mean, the life total differential is still very much the same. Kuan didn't spend that Arsenal last turn, so if it is an Oakenhold or a Crippling, still got that available. So we're going to Intimidate from the Pack Hunt, and if this is one of those turns where Rhinor's just presenting 6 damage, like, yeah, maybe there's another pummel. Like, it looks like if that was a yellow pummel last turn, maybe Patrick's got 6. But, yep, so there's another pummel. And Kuan's got an option here. Like, if I was Kuan, I think I'd just say, I probably don't want to not crown.
So we're going back up +2.
Yep.
Because Kuan's like, oh, okay, I'm going to decide whether I want to use this crown and do something with it.
So if that's an Oaken or a Crippling, which I assume it is, then Kuan's kind of going, do I want to... I'm now paying a lot of life to keep this in my arsenal. He's already effectively paid 1 life last turn because there was a free crown opportunity and he ended up with cards in hand at the end of the turn.
And he's got that tunic on 3 resources as well.
Yeah. And opting to just take it and keep the tunic and just break ground again. So, I mean, as ripostes to the pummel, these break ground turns are okay. Like, Kuan's still presenting back broadly the same amount of damage as Patrick is, but the pummels are getting a free card, basically.
Yeah.
Out of Kuan's hand. So Kuan is losing a little bit on the trades, but not an obscene amount.
Yeah. But I think that the big thing, from Rhinar is that if he didn't have those pummels, I think that this would be a very different game.
Oh, it would be a smashing by now. But Kuan opting to keep that big attack, I think knowing that even though it is annoying to be getting a little bit lower on life, as long as he's also getting Patrick lower... Also, it was a Fate Foreseen, not a big attack. Okay, unless that arsenal changed.
Okay. So,
interesting. So it's quite... Kuan had the option, if he did have that Fate Foreseen in arsenal the turn before, to fully block the attack so that even if there was a pummel, he could cover it up.
Yeah.
Opted instead to go for the bigger turn. Fair enough.
Yeah.
But I think once you've seen the yellow pummel, you start to think, maybe there are 6. Maybe there is a decent chance that there's another one here.
Yeah.
On a vanilla pack hunt.
And Kuan will be considering those kind of things.
So we've got Patrick playing this matchup well, all about picking your spots to play the on hits of Kuan. Play to the on hits of Kuan, get to an end game and close it out. Yeah, definitely. And Rhinar does have that ability to close it out, to deny you the opportunity to block with Intimidate. The question is going to be whether Kuan can string together Frostbites and discard on hit effects.
Yep.
Once we get to around 20 life to deny Patrick those big Intimidate turns and just keep the tempo himself. And Kuan still has a block on the Crater Fist and a couple block on the Ironhide legs, as well as the shield. But yeah, this is one of those situations where we haven't seen the Rampart used all that much, and maybe having the shield available later to block for 0 cost would be good. But as we say that, here comes the Rampart blocking again.
Taking some damage.
Have we seen any unmovables from Patrick yet? No, we haven't. So Kuan going for the Awakening, which of course is a great way to bring back some tempo as these life totals get lower, and is one of the tools that Bravo Star of the Show has available.
Yeah.
So question as well, have we seen any unmovable from Patrick yet? No, I don't think so, which is going to be relevant here.
Yeah. This pummel is going to come in for a free 14 damage.
So we'll create those Seismic Surges, so the Pulverize is free, and then if we've got the Starvo activation, which it looks like we might...
That was the pitch to the Awaken.
Yeah, okay, so no Starvo. We're just playing Vanilla Pulverize for 0. We've got a card in Arsenal, 2 cards in hand, and this Pulverize doesn't have Go again. Yeah.
Now, key thing that has occurred here is that multiple turns in a row, Kuan's had that tunic fully charged up at 3, but hasn't done the thing.
So, and that's because he's really valued those Arsenal cards. So the first one was a Fate Foreseen, and this one's an Awakening, which Kuan really wanted to play before damage to get the maximum number of Seismic Surges. But that has meant that tunic resource has been sitting there for a while. But Kuan does get to Arsenal one of these last 2 cards. If he Arsenals the non-Pulverized card, then can use that tunic for a free resource next turn to try and fix for the Bravo activation.
Yep. And we see just like a pass back here?
Yeah, a pass back into a Channel Lake Frigid, and still no use of the tunic counter, so that must be a relevant card in Arsenal, that tells me.
Yeah.
And what do we have there?
We saw a complete block out, and Channel is staying on 1. And then...
yeah, so I'm not sure what's going on with this Arsenal card. I mean, unless it's the Crippling that he now wants to play or something.
Yeah, it could be Crippling, it could be an Oakenhold.
But we're now, 6 turns on from that tunic. Like, we're a full tunic cycle ahead.
Yeah, so 9 Dominate Go again.
Yeah, with the Channel Lake Frigid out, making any unmovables or other defense reactions pretty much unplayable.
Yeah.
a block for 3, and then some of the power coming through. So from Patrick's perspective, Patrick's put 2 full hands in front of those pulverizers and really kept his life total reasonably high here.
Yeah.
Going down to 2 cards here though, or 2 cards plus 1 in Arsenal, could still be a functional turn.
And
But Kuan's keeping around the Channel Lake Frigid.
Yeah, so the way that he did that was he activated Crown on his turn, pitching the second ice, and then just putting whatever he drew into his arsenal. Didn't even care.
So comments are saying Patrick just wants to get through Channel Lake Frigid healthy. Yeah, definitely. But keeping it around for 2 turns has made that difficult. So Cadaverous Contraband coming in and block from the Crown, block from the Rampart, and then we might see Kuan dedicate 1 card here of those 5. Kuan is an Oak and Old there on top, I can see. Probably just figuring out whether have we got a blue pitch and then the earth and the ice. If so, I think we just take the rest of the damage if we're Kuan.
It's interesting. So Kuan hitting the tank here. How much damage do I want to take? I've got 1 floating. I've got the resource in Tunic, but I've got 4 cards in hand, and do I want to keep all of these hand cards, particularly in case another pummel comes through? I don't know. I'm guessing that
I think one thing about that
can't pummel at this stage because of the channel.
I think one thing about the Rampart is it makes Tunic a lot worse, and we're seeing that on display here. The Tunic can't block. Its resource is not particularly useful when you're usually pitching for your Crown to be able to do Crown and Rampart. So the Tunic resource is just sort of languished there.
Yep. So we see a full block out on that one.
Full block out, keeping the life high, and I thought we had an Oak and Old in hand. We might have the Pulse to be able to fuse it, or are we just vanillaing? We're just vanillaing. Okay. So maybe didn't have the Ice card. I'm not sure.
Yeah, because there's a Lightning card that he blocked with there.
No, the last card in hand. I'm not sure what it is.
Yes. So Channel Lake Frigid is going down this turn.
It is.
Patrick is...
Ironhide Leg's still up. Scabskin Leather's still up as well in terms of blocks. So quite a bit of equipment left on both sides. So yeah, block for 3, take 4.
Blocked on the with the
block
skull
for the
cap.
skull cap. Yep.
Good use of skull cap there.
Always good to use it when you're lower.
Alright, so what's this card do?
This is Barraging Beatdown. We're doing an Intimidate of a random card.
Yep.
So very tight here. Mandible Claws with a buff. And Kuan is looking at, I think that is an Expose the Elements or an Icy Encounter. I don't know why. I think Expose the Elements is unlikely to be in here. So Untangle, it's Crippling Crush, and Winter's Grasp.
Will we see this...
We're going to see this Crippling Crush off the Tunic counter. There's that Tunic counter that's been sandbags.
Okay.
And Crippling Crush. All right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that is a big threat.
Big threat, but not dominated.
Not dominated, but it's saying to Patrick, do you want to give me a 5-card hand next turn?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if Patrick just blocks out here with 4 cards, or even 3, then it's very likely that Kuan's just going to be able to keep the arsenal and use the 4
and
cards.
have tempo at that stage.
Yeah.
Being on 1 less life, but having tempo, I think I'd take that trade.
Yeah. So it looks like we're seeing a block for 6, and then maybe the Scabskin Leathers goes in front to make it 8 and avoid the crush.
So that Altar Channel Lake Frigid there, very pretty card.
We've got a Reckless Swing, so discarding a card at random. So Reckless Swing is a defense reaction that damages the attacker, but you have to pitch a card as an additional cost, and it damages if you discard a 6 or more.
Okay.
So Patrick using the whole hand to block, and here we go. So Kuan does have the Bravo activation this time, and this time has the second Crippling Crush. Now this is the one that really counts.
This is the 13 Dominate
but
Go again.
Patrick did get an Arsenal. By the looks of things,
so
which actually
could be.
I don't think that was last turn, because I think Patrick had 2 blocks and then Reckless Swing discarding the Cadaverous Contraband, so I think that Arsenal's been there for a couple of turns.
Yeah.
Which does make it, I think, more likely that it's a defense reaction, but I don't know. Patrick hasn't had all that much control over his hand.
So big big crushing turn here. Two resources still left over. One card in Arsenal.
One card in hand, I think. I think the Crippling Crush is from Arsenal.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was. So that one card is in hand. So we're seeing probably an attack with the hammer if it's particularly relevant, or we'll see if Kuan prioritizes the Arsenal.
Mm-hmm. And I think that largely depends on whether this is an unmovable in Arsenal and whether the crush hits.
Yeah.
Because I think if you're the Bravo player, once life totals are this low, you start prioritizing damage over Arsenal if you have full tempo, i.e. if they're not going to be coming back the other way.
Mm-hmm.
But you want the Arsenal, obviously, if they're going to be attacking you.
Yep.
So is the crush on the 13 power dominated Crippling Crush going to land? That's the key question here.
See, both players just trying to work out exactly what the options are here.
Patrick has really powered through the deck here. Like, there's a lot of cards in that discard pile.
Yeah, from both players.
And the game has gone reasonably long for this kind of matchup. We saw the full hand blockouts on the Pulverize, for example.
Yep.
So even though they're playing at lightning speed, we have been chewing through cards.
Yeah, absolutely chewing through cards. Difficult decision to make here. How much can I block? And it's clear that Patrick has some different options available to him. Because it's not just a simple, I've only got 3 here. So
there's 3 there, there's 2 on the Scab Skins.
Yep. Alright, down to 5 and then
losing 2 cards. So we'll be left with 1 card in hand and 1 card in Arsenal. And I think...
We'll see 2 random cards getting put into the bin.
Mm-hmm.
Does Rhinar's ability work like the Intimidate? That's only in your turn, yeah?
Yes, you can't intimidate them on their turn.
Yeah, because discarding cards at random on your opponent's turn to intimidate them is pretty rude. Alright. So one of those pummels gone, another card gone. And then let's see, do we attack or do we Arsenal?
Looks like an Arsenal from Kuan here.
Yeah, I really like that because it gives you that significantly increased chance of being able to pop off a Starvo activation.
The following turn, yeah.
And being on 5 life, like if Patrick's on 5...
hang on. We've seen a Tunic Blood Rush Bellow discarding a 6. So from 1 card in hand, 1 card in Arsenal, Patrick's gone to
3 cards in hand, intimidating 1 card, Kuan being on 12. We could actually see enough damage to get through here.
Yeah. So Patrick could actually threaten lethal here. So that's where, if Kuan had an ice card, or double Blood Rush Bellow, this is massive. So there is the potential that Patrick could high roll this into lethal damage with Kuan having no cards left in hand. What Kuan can do, though, is in response to the last Intimidate trigger, pitch to Crown, keep a mana up or a resource up for the shield and a resource up for the Ironhide legs.
Yeah.
So that even off 0 cards left, Kuan's got 1, 2, 3, 4 block. So it's going to be reasonably hard for Patrick to dish out 16 unblockable damage off these remaining 2 cards, but each of his attacks have now buffed by 4.
That's a lot.
So the claws are coming in for 7 each, so that's 14. Even if it's just pitch twice, attack with the claws, yeah, that's 14 damage.
That's a lot of damage. This is really cool. Could there be a third one of these Blood Rush Bellows?
There could be, yeah.
I think it probably
don't think
at this point.
Well, it only gets go again if he discards a 6 or more power card. So he had to hit Blood Rush Bellow and a 6 power.
Yeah.
And then off the 2 cards he drew from the second one, would have had to hit Blood Rush Bellow and a 6 power. The deck's full of 6 powers, but still, you'd be pretty stoked.
You'd be pretty stoked at this, how it is right now. So.
Yeah.
So we've got 1 left floating. How much does it cost to attack with full claws? Is it 2?
2, yeah.
Yeah. So we see another pitch here. Nope, we're just coming in for... How much damage is that?
7.
7. Okay.
7 go again.
So Kuan right now has just got to decide whether he wants to block with that Ram's Head and do the Crown activation. Basically turning in like a pitch, as long as it's pitch 2 or 3, into a block 2. If it's a pitch 3, then you also get to block with those Ironhide legs. which you might want to do at this point in time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we're getting to the point where you just want to be efficient with those Ironhide legs.
Yep.
In terms of resources and cards. Because damage is damage.
Damage is damage. So the Ironhide legs is the foot piece equipment that Kuan is running. It basically costs 1 to defend for 2.
Mm-hmm.
Once off, that's it.
Yep.
So in order to use it, you have to have some resources, which if you're already using a bunch of resources, that can be a good way to spend your last resource. Often, feet are the worst of the equipments.
Yep.
With the exception of Rhinar. Rhinar looks to have some good boots there.
They're good boots. I mean, they're 2-block battle worn with a relevant ability.
Yeah.
Some pretty nice shoes.
Really nail-biting crunch turn here. So we can see how fast these players played throughout the entire game.
Mm-hmm.
And then these last 2 turns come down to a bit of a screeching snail's pace. Just in order to work out, how am I going to do this? Because I've got plenty of time because of how fast they've been playing in terms of like round timer. But this is the crunch, right? If somebody makes a mistake here, then it's going to be game defining, I think.
Or rather, I think from Kuan's perspective, it's kind of a mistake might not look like dying this turn, but it might look like not presenting enough back next turn that Patrick has to commit sufficient resources, or just not missing a kill. Like if Kuan either has the opportunity to, or does already have the Bravo activation in hand, then it's very threatening to just straight up kill Patrick. So if I was in Kuan's position, I would probably be going to the tank pretty hard if that was the case. Like if I've already got the fuse or the Bravo activation, trying to think about how I can minimize the number of ways I die whilst preserving that in hand.
Faith the Scene from Arsenal.
Yep.
And block with the tunic. And block it out with the red set and the Ironhide legs.
Yep. So it looks like we are keeping...
Oh.
So Pulse of Volthaven and Hammer. So no Earth card.
No Earth card coming in for 8.
Threatening a Frostbite. Yeah.
Oh, not for threatening a Frostbite.
Oh no, just 8.
Just 8 vanilla damage at this point.
So I think it looks like Kuan was just hamstrung by having the Pulse of Volthaven in hand.
Yeah, having a bunch of red. So I had to pitch a yellow in order to play for the Ironhide legs and the red set. Now, did have a blue in hand though.
Yeah, so it's interesting.
One of the options that Kuan could have done was activate the crown before getting intimidated. But it sounds like he got a little bit unlucky with the intimidate, and then had to use the yellow.
Yeah.
But maybe he didn't want to actually use the crown because he had the Fate for Sand in Arsenal there.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, it's a tough one.
It is tough.
Because the crown activation not only prevents 1, so Fate for Sand's only up 3 at that point, but it also gives you a card. So if you've got the resource, you're actually pretty much even.
Yep. If it's a
crowning versus Fate for Scening.
Yeah.
Assuming that you're not up against Dominate, which we weren't.
Yeah.
So we've got an Alpha Rampage block.
And then some block on some equipment. So 3,
that's 5.
6, take 2, go to 1.
That's only 3, 4, 5, I think, because the Scabs and the Skull Cap are already blocked.
Okay.
Yeah, because they're now up to 2 counters. So we're presumably going to see some other blocks here. So we've got a Wrecker Romp, a Barraging Beatdown, and something that I can't quite see in hand. So a 6 power blue, a Barraging Beatdown. So Patrick probably wants to keep Barraging Beatdown, pitch to Claws.
Yep.
But
has there been a miscount on the total life, or because it looks like Patrick is blocked? 1, 2. No, did block. I don't know how that exactly worked out.
I'm not sure either. Oh my goodness. So we just saw a Scab Skin Leathers roll and Patrick rolled a 6 to get 3 action points.
Okay.
So he's gone Blood Rush Bellows into Blood Rush Bellows, and then the next turn roll the Scabs and roll 6. I mean, he does a Gambler's Gloves there, so he had a reroll available, but it's pretty nice when the first one comes up 6.
Yeah, that's what you want. So we see an activation of the crown, drawing a card. So we've got 2 resources floating, which means that there's a lot of block here available for Kuan. He just also wants to have the ability to come back with something. It could just be a Frosty Hammer, but would love the ability to come in for 7.
Frosty Hammer's decent at this point, given Patrick's on 1 and has no equipment available.
Yeah.
This is when the Frosty Hammer really starts to shine.
Okay, so
now I think we'll just
claws come in.
Taking 2, because we've still got the crown floating on Kuan's side. So if Kuan takes 2 here, goes to 4, it just really depends what those cards are in hand. We haven't actually seen a Ram's Head block yet.
What if it's like a red pummel though?
Red pummel wouldn't kill through the Ram's Head and the crown. And wouldn't be a discard. So it really depends, what those 3 cards are in Kuan's hand. If they're 3 different elements, I would probably just chuck the shield in front, take 1, take 5 if he pummels, and come back with a dominated big attack. But given how long Kuan's taking the tank here, I imagine it's probably not 3 different elements.
Yeah. Could also be that he's, at this point, just checking how many pummels are left. Hasn't seen any red pummels at this point.
So I think we know what the card is? No, so the Barraging Beatdown and the Wrecker Romp have been pitched. So it could well be a pummel, the last card.
We do know that, we know Patrick's deck list. And I asked Patrick, how many pummels are you playing? And the answer is 6. So I'm sure that Kuan will look through here, find out how many pummels are there, find out how many other pumps.
It's also the threat from any attack to follow this up. So even if it's not a pummel, even if Kuan goes to, say he takes 1, goes to 5, if Patrick has a 2-cost attack, like a Cadaverous Contraband or something, which is like a 2 for 6, that could be annoying.
Yeah. So certainly some decisions to make here.
But yeah, Kuan is taking the 1. And then we've got a swing big. So it's better than a 2 for 6, it's 2 for 8.
Okay.
And Kuan looks like probably blocking 8 here, I think. Or does Kuan, if there are 2 3 blocks, they're all 2 blocks. Nasty.
Okay.
Ooh.
Block 6 go to 3.
So that is... Patrick could not have had a better turn off 3 cards.
Yeah, needed to roll the 6, huh?
Needed to roll the 6 and needed to have the swing big and 2 blues.
5
no, 5's only 2 action points.
Oh, really?
It's round down. So he needed exactly a 6.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And we're seeing a Beast Within here. So now all of these attacks are just threatening the pummels.
Yeah, and no card in Arsenal for Kuan.
Yep.
So no crown activations.
Which makes the shield real bad.
Yeah. Interesting.
So I wish Patrick would show us his hand so we know if he's got the pummel. It'd make me less tense.
Yeah. I know that Kuan knows how many pummels are left in that deck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's really what it's coming down to here. So Kuan blocking 6, saying you got me with a pummel, and he has the pummel. And he has the Pulse of Eisen Loft, the 1 out of defense record. I mean, to be fair, Kuan is playing Faithful Scenes.
Yeah.
So there were other defense reactions available, but still, it's nice to have it.
Yeah, and we noticed that I noticed that there's not that many cards left in library for Patrick. So
yeah, but with the life totals as they are, it's a 2 intimidates from eye rollers.
Intimidating.
And then an intimidate, that'll be probably it. With no arsenal for Kuan. Yep.
Alright, that's
so
game.
Triple intimidate of 4 cards for the win to close it out.
Yep.
Wow. So Patrick played to his outs perfectly. Got the double Blood Rush Bellow turn. Got the 6 on the Scab Skins. Had the pummel the next turn to demand the Pulse of Eisenloft. And then finished off with triple intimidate off a 4-card hand.
Yeah. Just really great to see. Rhinar taking down Starvo there.
Yeah.
And also the pummel activation, just really good.
Yeah. And for those who are kind of looking at Rhinar, you could see that I think Patrick activated Scab Skins once in that game. Mm-hmm. It's not like you do it every turn, but it's like you can change a game by just randomly gaining some extra points out of nowhere. And if you're only planning to do it once or twice in the game, then the Gambler's Gloves gets even better.
Yep.
Because you've got it there when you need it.
Gambler's Gloves lets you reroll 1 die roll?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, also for Patrick there, I think, we saw the power of the pummels. Kuan had the defense reactions in the sideboard to bring in, anticipating the pummels, but they weren't enough. And, Kuan missed on some key turns. Like, there were quite a few turns there where it was like, if Kuan's seen 5 cards, if Kuan has the 3 elements to fuse Bravo, activate Bravo, then it puts Kuan in a really good position, and Kuan just didn't. But a lot of the time, when Kuan did have the cards to activate Bravo, Patrick was able to present pummels or other threats that didn't allow him to keep it.
Yeah, the pummel just, like when Kuan blocked with 1 card, keeping 3, and you could tell they're all 3 elements.
Yep.
Right? And it happened twice where Kuan had to go from having the Starvo activation and not having the Starvo activation off the back of those pummels. So you can tell that Patrick has thought about this matchup, has tested it, has got this plan, executed, and it went well. Will that happen every time? Almost certainly not.
But the fact that you can do it, you play to your outs and you know what you're doing, and you get rewarded for that, that's great.
Yeah, and really cool to see this kind of innovation. People going, you know what? I'm actually going to try to tackle the Starvo deck in my own way with Rhinar.
And with Rhinar, which is a deck that also tackles Prism really well. Being another one of the big decks in the metagame. So well done to Patrick.
Well done to Patrick. I reckon we get Patrick in here for the second time.
Yeah.
And Jesse, maybe you have a quick chat to him. And you guys can chat about this pummel plan a little bit more.
Sounds good.
See you in 10 seconds? 10
Yeah,
seconds.
Patrick, jump in. We'll
Just
leave
jump
it live.
in.
Jump in.
Just jump in.
Yeah.
Grab a chair. And then we'll get Kuan on as well to have maybe a bit of a chat with him as well.
So,
how's it going?
Patrick,
Yes.
tell us more about your plan for dealing with Starvo. We saw the power of the pummels there. How conscious were you of when to use them?
For me, it's more, to be honest, whenever I see them, I got to try. Unless there's a on-hit threat that's really, really threatening. Like you've got to be honest, the polarizer were just too big. I just want to block them out, and I feel from memory, I think he's running 2. So I just sort of knew if I got them out of hand, then if he's lower life when I start pummeling, I'm not sort of threatened. I can sort of take that tempo back because he doesn't have that come back into the game again. So.
And there were, I think, 2 times in the game when Kuan blocked a 6-power attack or thereabouts with 1 card, keeping 3, and you pummeled.
Yeah.
When you played the pummel, did you kind of feel what you disrupted there?
Oh, I think the good thing about Bravo is no matter what, you're always disrupting them. They're not going to keep cards that they don't need, even if they overblock, you just arsenal the card and then go from there. So you can just save it for later. I haven't been able to get it off yet, but what I'm really wanting to pummel is Cadaverous Contraband, but I just haven't had the chance because it is not just a condition where I ruin their turn, as I have set myself up for next turn chronically. And
tell our viewers about Cadaverous Contraband. What does it do?
So if Cadaverous Contraband hits, I basically am going to use it to put Blood Rush back on top of my deck. Blood Rush is obviously my power card, so big turns coming. So
and speaking of Blood Rush, how did it feel when you saw the second Blood Rush off the first one?
Look, honestly, it felt great, but the fact I drew a yellow and a red was really rough. I will admit this game in particular, I got lucky a few times. I rolled a 6 at the end of the game. I don't know if
but you did have the gambler's gloves.
I did have the gambler's, but chances of me rolling a 6, so it's like 1 in 6 chance, obviously. So the fact I rolled a 6 turned a turn I was thinking was going to be somewhere between 8 or 9 damage. If I just rolled a
4 or 5.
one action point, I was just going to do barraging into smash big, swing big, sorry. And if I rolled 4 or 5, I was just going to do 1 claw into that with Tunic. But the fact I did that was insane. Hit for 12 damage, which Kuan ended up blocking, which kind of allowed me to get back in the game. So
took the tempo back. Yeah, it was really nice. I think what we spoke a bit about after the game finished was looking at playing to your outs once you got a little bit behind on the tempo there, and that you're staring down a hero that's got the ability to dominate and the ability to force 3 damage once your life total gets low, and you knew that your deck had a few ways to force the blocks and to take the cards out of his hand. Playing to that was great. It was really good to see you get rewarded for that. I mean, some people would go, oh yeah, it's lucky to draw cards or it's lucky to draw 6s or whatever, but you've got to play to those things, otherwise they don't do anything.
I think as well, I was obviously closing out the game was quite lucky there. I obviously I don't normally pay too much attention to my pitch stack, but I did remember I didn't know whereabouts I was, but there is some circumstances against like Lexi I'll definitely pay attention to. I don't attack much. But I knew that when I drew one high roller, there was another high roller and a pack hunt there, which was what helped me close the game out.
Yeah. So talk us through high roller. What kind of roles that played in the deck?
High roller is just great. The fact that it blocks 3. If you draw it and you need to get it out of your hand, you can, because sometimes you want to do a discard, so you want to make sure you're guaranteed. And it also intimidates fantastic. It's honestly just a barrage you beat down white, really.
Yeah, seems pretty powerful.
It's great. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, congrats.
Thank you.
We've got Kuan here, so he's going to duck in and have a quick chat, but thanks for chatting with us.
Easy. Thank you so much. Cheers.
You can't say it. No, I want to see what Patrick's saying.
Yeah, we've got to get you in, Kuan, so congratulations. So 4-1 now.
Yep.
So hopefully looking at top 8, you've got one more round to go, but how have you felt about your other games so far? We haven't seen any of your other games on stream, but what have you had?
I versed Lexi first round, and then it was, what was it again? Starvo, mirror match, and then Viscera, and then that last one. And then
So one more win.
Yeah, I can't remember now. Sorry.
No, that's all right.
Oh no, it was Lexi, another Lexi. Yeah, another Lexi.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So when you were, there were a couple of times in that game I was kind of wondering what you were thinking. So you had a couple of turns we got pummeled, which was obviously really frustrating because it looks like you had the 3 elements. Is that right?
I did.
So that was frustrating. And then you had a turn where you came in with just the vanilla Oakenolds.
Yeah.
What was the thought process in that turn, or what was the tension?
My hand was, I had another crippling, and my tunic had 1 on it, and I thought it's better to force damage or force him to use some cards, because I was going to crippling crush the following turn, and I didn't have the extra blues to be able to play the crippling. Oh, I could have actually. The way I blocked, I could have kept the extra blue, but then I wouldn't have an arsenal. So I rather save the crippling crush in the following turn. That disrupts him a bit further. But yeah, that was pretty much the logic behind that.
Yeah, sure. And then you had a couple of turns where I think you had a Fate Foreseen in Arsenal that you preserved, not crowning.
Yeah.
And then I can't remember what the other card after that was that you preserved as well. I think it was the Awakening, wasn't it?
Yes. So when I doubled Awakening, I was gambling that I would be drawing to a fuse head. Because if that second Pulverize had fused that, I think that game would have changed quite a bit.
Oh, absolutely.
What I could have done was, instead of arsenaling the Pulverize at the end of that turn, arsenal the other card.
Yes.
And then potentially draw into the fuse and then have the cycle as potential to get into the missing pieces I needed. But it was a Earth, the card that I kept anyway. So
sure. Yeah. So you were kind of saying I just
needed to draw the other 2 elements.
Yeah.
I would have came in at 16 dominate with go again.
Yeah.
But that was just the gamble that I was sort of taking, because I didn't think I would be able to pull off Awakening, because from there I pivoted to go aggressive and try and get him down lower than me, which he was most of the time.
Our line was
pretty close.
Yep.
Yeah. I was hoping he would take a bit more risk and take the damage, but he just full blocked and he had all 3 blocks. In his hand blocked 12, so
yeah. And then as it got towards the end, you had that last turn with the scab skins and the amount of damage that was put out there.
Yes.
What was kind of your thoughts on that turn?
I needed to get an Arsenal card, and I just couldn't, because he was threatening too many cards. And he was right. The turn that he rolled 6 really was the pivotal turn that just changed everything. I couldn't actually come back from that, because I knew he had high roll left. I think he had one more barraging beatdown left. So if he just had a full hand draw 1 or 2 of them, I would have been done.
Yeah. And did you were you counting for pummels, or were you counting for the intimidates when you went through the graveyard that turn before?
I knew he had 1 more pummel left. That's why I was able to block that final one with a pulse.
With the pulse,
I didn't really want it, but I knew it was there. I had to use it.
Yeah, that was. We thought that was maybe it, and then you had the pulse, but then you didn't get the arsenal. It's
actually, I could have probably blocked that, but actually, I couldn't block 3, knowing. Yeah, maybe I could have blocked a 3 block, then play the pulse.
Had the pulse.
But that would have been too obvious, and I was on 3 life at the time, so it was lethal.
Yeah. Risky. Cool. Well, thanks for the chat, and I'm sure we'll see you again in the top 8.
No worries. All right.
Cheers.
Thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
Kuan.
See ya.